All right, faithful, we are finally live. I'm going to hit the intro, but before we do, I got a special guest on my right, my man Ted. Introduce yourself to the faithful as we get started here on Prediction Friday.
Hey Raj, thanks for having me on. I'm Ted H6 on Twitter and TED Talks Ball on YouTube. Check out my shows and give me a follow and be sure and subscribe and hit those like buttons for me. I really appreciate it.
All right, go check out my man Ted, and we're going to hit the little intro as we get started. All right. If that doesn't let you get hyped up for the upcoming weekend, I don't know what will. Because we've been waiting, an extra week because of the bye week, and now we got a game coming up. Sunday night football, prime time. I'm excited. I'm sure the fans are. What's up, faithful? How's everybody doing out there? I want to get your thoughts. What do you guys think about Sunday night football? Are you guys excited? Ted, how are you feeling coming into this game, man? We didn't even have a game last week. I feel like it's been 2 years since the Niners have played.
It's been a long time. How am I feeling? I'm feeling optimistic about the game. I feel like the Chargers have a lot of injuries to a lot of key players. The Niners are getting a lot of guys back from injury, including Debo, who we haven't seen with CMC yet. I'm really excited to see that combination. Obviously, along with Kittle, Ayuk, Juszczyk, Ray, and Jennings. What a embarrassment of riches of weapons we have. It's just incredible. So obviously there's a little bit of sadness with Jason Verrett's injury, tearing his Achilles on Wednesday. We found out about it yesterday. It was like we got this huge lift from CMC, and I feel like that's kind of brought us down a little bit. And then, always coming out after a bye, you worry about a little bit of rust. Plus, with players coming back from injury, you worry about a little rust. But even if we start slow, I think we'll finish strong at the end. I think we'll get the W.
I think so too, and you're right. There's a lot of players that returning. We did a little injury update earlier. I mean, Kyle Juszczyk, Debo Samuel, Juwan Jennings, Debo Samuel, Aziz Al-Shahir, Dre Greenlaw, Colton McKivitz. Everybody's coming back pretty much. Everybody that was hurt before the bye week, for the most part. So it's good to hear, positive news, because usually when we're making injury updates, it's, oh, this player's not playing. This guy got hurt. This guy got hurt. So it definitely is nice to see a lot of these players coming back, and I feel like this offense is just getting started. We saw that game before the bye week where it was just like, oh man, you can see, the possibilities. CMC was there. They didn't have Debo. Now like you said, you get Debo and CMC in the same backfield, and then Elijah Mitchell also coming back. I didn't mention. So it should get scary. It's kind of almost like we didn't want the bye week. I think it was like, the team was getting in this good good groove. We don't want them to get into a funk. And then Lynch said something about that today on KMBR. He says, you almost didn't want the bye week. You got so many weapons. Now you get to see what they can do. So the creativity should be fun to see. Definitely win knocked out of your sails, though, with Jason Verrett not, getting the season-ending injury. Your heart goes out to the guy like that because he's battled so many injuries through his career. I think he's been on the injured reserve 7 years out of 9 years he's played, right? ACL twice, torn patella, torn labrum twice, torn Achilles twice. Like, it's bad injuries, and he keeps trying to fight back. So from what I've read and heard, it sounds like the psyche of the team is kind of shot down. They're demoralized a little bit, but I think that they're going to come out and fight and play hard for them. The DBs, Dave Lombardi tweeted out that they're going to wear a Jason Verrett shirt, so that's cool. So I think they're going to rally. This is a team that always kind of fights through adversity, and I think that they will on Sunday. And I think they'll do enough to get it done. And also on the other side of the ball, the Chargers are banged up. They don't have Michael Williams, Keenan Allen, Joey Bosa, J.C. Jackson, Rashawn Slater. They're banged up, man. So the Niners have the edge right now coming into Sunday.
No doubt about it.
Yeah. So what do you think about the return? So you did mention a little bit CMC and Debo, right, playing together. Like how do you think that's going to work? Do you feel like they're going to have a similar role? Do you think Debo can be more of a wide receiver? What are your thoughts on Debo and CMC moving into this offense?
Yeah, well, I mean, we call Debo a wide back, and as soon as we were trading for Christian McCaffrey, I started calling him a run-ceiver because they're very similar. They do a lot of the same things. Debo's going to line up, at least initially, a little bit more as a wide receiver, split out. CMC will start out more in the backfield, but expect them to shift around a lot, and trade places. I am dying to see the two of them in the backfield together, one on either side of Jimmy G, and they both break out right and left, and, half the defense is going to go with one, half the defense with the other. Then, Kittle and Ayuk are going to end up beneficiaries because of that. And even Juszczyk. So it's really exciting. I mean, I think stylistically they do it differently. Debo is more likely to run you over, and Christian McCaffrey is more likely to juke you out of your socks. But Debo can juke people pretty well, and Christian can run people over pretty well. It's not like either one's bad at those things. It's just neither one's quite as strong as the other at their core strength.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, Debo just gonna knock you out, man. Like that's a guy you don't even want to try to tackle. Most defenders don't. He's so physical, and then you're right. Like Christian McCaffrey's so smooth with his cuts. I think it's just gonna be a lethal backfield together. So I'm definitely excited about those two. And so we're talking about the Niners and the Chargers, and obviously the fans are juiced for some football. They're juiced for a win. I think the Niners definitely have to come into this game after a bye week, kind of assert their dominance. Bash over there, our 49er Minder says, I want to see a blowout. I don't care if we blow them out, but it would be nice, definitely, to see a blowout. I just want to see the Niners win. And with that being said, what are your keys overall to winning this game for the Niners? How do you think the Niners have to kind of attack the Chargers to win this game on Sunday?
Yeah, like you said, the Chargers are very banged up. One name that is big in my mind that you didn't mention, I think it's David Austin. I know his last name is Austin Johnson. He's a defensive tackle, and he's out, and he is their leading run stuffer. And they already had a compromised run defense. I think 29th in the league, so fourth from the bottom. So, yeah, run the ball. Run the ball. That's one way to beat them. Because if Jimmy G's dropping back to pass, then I worry about Khalil Mack, especially if he's lined up against Mike McGlinchey. McG, I call him. Him and Jimmy G are the only two weak spots I see in our offense. I mean, center a little bit. I don't think Brendel's a good run blocker, but he's a good enough pass blocker where he's not going to give up a lot of sacks at least. But Khalil Mack coming off the edge against McGlinchey scares me. Other guys on their defense. You mentioned J.C. Jackson is out, and a lot of Niner fans wanted him as a free agent this last offseason. But we got Mooney Ward, who actually turned out to be much better this season, and now J.C. Jackson's out injured too. So we really dodged a bullet there by getting Mooney Ward. I'm so happy about that one. But they still do have Asante Samuel Jr., who also Niner fans wanted back in the 2021 draft when we got Aaron Banks. But now at least Aaron Banks is playing well, so we don't feel so badly about that. I mean, Aaron Banks is playing better than well. I mean, he's probably our best offensive lineman right now. So all of a sudden, that's not looking so bad. But he's someone to watch on their defense. And then obviously Derwin James, right? Mm-hmm. This guy is kind of like a superstar safety. I was saying that I thought he could basically play almost any defensive position besides maybe a run-stuffing defensive tackle. Like I could even see him as a NASCAR defensive tackle rushing the passer up the middle on passing downs. Like he's that good. He rushes the passer. He tackles. I mean, I think it was Kelsey was the one where he picked him up and just body slammed him in the Chiefs game. I mean, yeah, just the guy, he's a beast. And then I was on earlier this morning with Ryan Hensley, and he brought up Drew Tranquil also as another name to watch, middle linebacker for the San Diego or no, L.A. Chargers. If Jimmy's throwing over the middle, he could give us some trouble. Jimmy does like to throw to linebackers, as we know. So those are some key matchups for our offense against their defense. And then for their offense against our defense, obviously, like you said, no Mike Williams, no Keenan Allen. I would add in Donald Parham is also out, who's their wide receiver 3. So they don't have wide receivers 1 through 3. That hurts. That hurts a lot. But they still do have Justin Herbert, and he's probably a top 5 quarterback in this league, talent-wise. And so he's going to elevate whoever they do have. Whatever they have for weapons, he's going to make them look better than most other QBs in the league would make them look. They obviously have Austin Eckler, who is, another one of these run-receiver type offensive weapons, a lot like CMC. He's on track right now for a little over 1,600 scrimmage yards and a little over 21 TDs. So he's a big worry. He can help carry a team for sure. If they can get a little production elsewhere, he can do a lot. And then they have a real good interior offensive line. They have Corey Linsley, who came from the Packers, and a real good left guard, a real good right guard, who their names escape me at the moment. But any team with a good interior offensive line always worries me while Kinlaw and Armstead are out. And yeah, we're getting Dre and Aziz back, but Aziz has been out for at least 8 weeks. So I don't expect him to play a lot. And if he does play a lot, he could be rusty, like we saw from a lot of our players coming back in the Chiefs game, where they were back, but they weren't really back, right? Yeah. So those are some of my keys to the game that I see.
I agree with you. And especially those injuries, like the players that come back from injury, like it is nice. Like it's great. We get a shot of the arm, a good shot of adrenaline. It's nice. But you're right. The key takeaway with players that come back from injury, they're not always 100%. Like, so you don't know what to expect out of them. Like, we don't know what to expect out of Elijah Mitchell. We don't know what to expect out of Aziz Al-Shir. Like, we want them to be at their peak, but they haven't played in a minute, and there's going to be some ring rust there. So you do worry about that. Even though they're healthy relatively, they're coming back. So how effective can they be? So you still have some of the backups that are probably going to get some snaps in there, and they're going to rotate in there. So you're still probably going to see Oren Burks and guys like that. Now, going on to the Chargers offense, like you said, Justin Herbert, I know they don't have Keenan Allen. I know they don't have Mike Williams and Parham, but they still have Justin Herbert. And what you just said, that he can elevate anybody on a team, he's a top 5 quarterback. And when you have an elite quarterback, he's going to make everybody around him good. And Austin Eckler, that's a 1-2 punch. They could still kind of score points and figure a way to stay in the game. And again, Derwin James, man, I love that guy. I think he's one of the best players in this league. He had some injury concerns early in his career, but one of the best safeties, versatile, like you said. And he's a guy that Niner fans really wanted a couple of years back. They drafted Mike McGlinchey, and he joked about it the other day. He says Niner fans wanted Derwin over me. He made a little joke. This is a big game for both of them because Derwin's going to come out and probably be a menace for us. He's going to make it his mission to get in these receivers be a thorn on their side and then make Jimmy's day a living hell. So Mike McGlinchey's got a lot to live up to this weekend because they were 2 guys that were in the same draft, and Niner fans didn't forget that. I think most Niner fans, if you ask them, they'd still want Derwin James every day of the week over Mike McGlinchey. No disrespect. McGlinchey's a good run blocker, but, just hasn't been that pass protector that you want him to be. In big situations, he makes big mistakes. So this is the second half of the season where I think McGlinchey has a lot to prove. I know he came into this season with an injury, but, man, he does have a lot to prove this second half of the season. And the O-line has been better than I thought it would be at this point, but there have been some issues. Again, Jake Brendel, he's been okay. I think he's been a serviceable center, above average, but I don't think he's been the best, especially run blocking. But Aaron Banks, 100%, has been phenomenal. What a revelation. I think he's made a lot of people eat crow because myself, I wanted Asante Samuel. I remember sitting here going, what are we doing? We got Laken Tomlinson. And sure enough, Aaron Banks has proven everybody wrong. So I hope he continues that up because that is another, 1-2 punch of a player in the draft where Niner fans were like, they got this guy, but they got the other guy. So, and it's funny, is O-line, two O-linemen, McGlinchey and Banks. But Banks has been kind of the polar opposite of McGlinchey there. So we'll see how that goes. Niners, though, I think they definitely have to run the ball, play their brand of football. 30 carries a game is what I usually say for them to win a game. And I think they have to, especially against the Chargers. They're a team that allows, like you said, one of the worst rush defenses in the league. They allow 5.7 yards a carry a game. That's a lot. That's a lot. The Niners with CMC, Elijah Mitchell coming back, Debo, like their run style, the way they play football, they have to run the ball. And we just said Justin Herbert, right? If he's so good, you need to keep him off the field. If you just run the ball, play keep away from Herbert, he can't hurt you, right? So you have to run the ball, establish ball control, and keep it away from Herbert. Going back to the 49ers secondary, we talked about Jason Verrett, right? The injury. So we've been kind of searching for that cornerback too all season. Now that Mosley's down, and Jason Verrett was supposed to be that plan B. Obviously, didn't pan out because of the injury. So now we're left with a lot of issues in the secondary. Like, who's going to step up? Is it going to be Diamador Lenore, Sam Womack, Ambry Thomas? Can he kind of take that second-year leap? And then you got Jimmy Ward, who they continue to play at nickel. Is this kind of a good game for the Niners to be without some secondary players and kind of have to tinker with their lineup because they don't have Mike Williams and Keenan Allen on the other side? So this is kind of the game where they can kind of maybe get some confidence, these younger cornerbacks. So I think it kind of worked out for them, but still, they have to go out and make plays. Mooney Ward, as you said, has been a phenomenal cornerback. I think he's had the best completion percentage against him out of all defenders. I was reading through Next Gen Stats, and he's one of the best run defensive cornerbacks in the league. So his stats have been up there. He's been really good. He's money well spent. But with teams knowing how good Mooney Ward is, they're not going to challenge him. Herbert's not going to throw to his side. He's going to throw to the other side. So based on that, who do you think really steps up, and who do you see coming out of that secondary kind of taking that leap now that we know Jason Verrett's not coming back? We know Mosley's out. Who's taking that second-year leap, who's taking that leap moving forward?
Yeah, it's an interesting situation. Ideally, we'd like to get Jimmy Ward back to free safety, get him out of the nickel. He doesn't like playing nickel. And we'd like to get him at free safety. I think you probably leave Lenore out on the boundary, and I think you bring Womack in at nickel at some point. And the hope is that they can both improve over the season. Last year and in the offseason, I would have said Ambry Thomas, but he really seems to have taken a step back. So until I see something from him, I'm kind of counting him as the third option of the young guys. And so for now it's a tough situation because Gibson's playing pretty well at free safety, and I don't think he can play nickel. So I don't think you can just switch him and Jimmy Ward. So, by moving Jimmy, I think Jimmy Ward's a better free safety, but is Ward as free safety plus Womack at nickel better than Ward at nickel and Gibson at free safety? I don't think so. So I don't think it's going to change anytime soon. I mean, I think we might see some platooning here and there. Maybe put Womack in at the boundary, maybe. I don't know, but he's a little bit small for the boundary.
Small, yeah.
He's 5'9" and I think 185. So he's short in stature and not real heavy. It's a mystery, really, on how we're gonna. I think that we're gonna need some improvement from the young guys.
Yeah, to me, that's the biggest. So, we want to bring up basically segue keys to the game, which we were kind of talking about. And that, to me, is the key to the rest of the second half is the secondary. They have to figure it out because you're right. I think we all are in the general consensus of Jimmy Ward's better suited to play free safety. But what you just said is such a good point is, okay, if they move him to free safety, who's going to be at nickel, right? I don't think Gibson can play nickel. You like Womack, but he's still young and developing. They'll pick on him. And can he, establish dominance through the second half of the season if they know he's that nickel? I don't know. He's young. He's a rookie. He's still kind of developing. And then you have Lenore, who's shown some flashes, but he's been a little inconsistent. He's been better this season. I like what I've seen out of him. And then, Ambry, I think he's definitely taken a step back. So it's tough on him mentally. Teams will definitely pick on him. So they really have to figure out who's better at these positions. And I think what they're really going to do is, like you said, maybe a platoon and rotate these guys around, because you're going to have to tinker with the lineup and really see who's best suited. And maybe one game, one of those guys just has like a big play, sparks, some confidence in them, and they keep rolling. So it is definitely a tough situation. And then on defensive line, another key where I think is the Niners have to get pressure. Pressure, pressure, pressure. When they win games, they're usually getting pressure up front, especially on a guy like Herbert, because he can pick you apart. If you give him time in the pocket, I don't care if he has no Mike Williams and Keenan Allen. Like we said, he'll figure out a way to elevate people, and you give him time, he'll pick you apart. They have to get pressure. We know Nick Bosa is Nick Bosa, but who else is going to step up? They're going to be without Armstead. They're going to be without Kinlaw. They're probably going to be without Samson Ebicam now, which we talked about, which, new injury, quad injury. He's had the Achilles issue over the year. That's a big injury. You got Charles Omenihu, you got Kerry Hyder, you got Ridgeway and Givens, but they're still, just depth pieces. This is the time where I think Drake Jackson is going to have to step up and be a bigger force in that defensive line. I think this is a time where they're going to really unleash a guy like Drake, give him a lot more reps. I mean, there's nobody else out there. They have Jordan Willis coming back, but again, like we talked about with these guys coming back from injury, he's going to be rusty. He hasn't played the whole season. He had a knee scope in his procedure. So how much are we going to get out of Willis on the first few games? So I think a lot of pressure is going to be on Drake Jackson. What do you think? What are your thoughts on Drake Jackson moving forward in the second half?
Yeah, I'm excited to see more of him. I was excited when we drafted him. He's got that speed rush. He's got that killer bend. My only question will be, how is he in run defense? Because that's something Samson Ebicam was really good at. Yeah. But I think we're definitely going to get a chance to find out a little bit more. He's an exciting player, and I'm excited to see more of him for sure. I think Jordan Willis coming back is a good run defender, or has been. So if he's not too rusty, that could be part of the answer on base downs, and maybe see more of Drake Jackson in the nickel package.
Yeah, I agree. I think so too, and I'm excited to see Drake. I think he flashed some really good potential in that first half. He was nice. He had some really nice plays, and there was times where I was like, just give him more reps, And I think now by necessity, he's going to get those reps, and I think he's going to meet expectations, maybe go further, because he's a guy, like you said, that bend he had, speed off the edge. With Chris Kasurek out there developing him, I'm so excited to see what Drake can do. And you're right, Jordan Willis, if he can really be a guy to shore up that run defense, it'll be nice, because we're definitely missing Armstead. There's no real timetable for his return. I know earlier in the week, Jennifer Lee Chan talked about the injury on the left foot was actually a hairline fracture. So, I mean, you take that for what it's worth. I know he says he's close to returning, but how effective is he going to be with the coming off a hairline fracture? Plus, he has plantar fasciitis on the right foot. That's a painful injury. Both of those are painful injuries. So I don't know what we're going to get out of Armstead. Kinlaw, same thing. I don't know what we're going to get out of him. He might be able to come back next week for Kyle Shanahan, but I don't know, man. It's murky waters with Kinlaw there. So they need to get something out of some of these guys on the D-line, because that was our strongest position early in the season, was D-line. And all the depth, we were like, oh, man, all this D-line talent. And now we're kind of, oh, no, should we go get Ndamukong Suh? That's what people are sitting there on Twitter. So real quick, what's your take on that? Should the 49ers go and get a guy like Ndamukong Suh?
I mean, for his skill level, we should. But as far as character issues, it seems like he's a little bit of a character risk, and we just don't seem to do that ever since Reuben Foster. So I think that'll rule him out. But we'll see. That'd be an interesting pickup for sure. I mean, before we picked up Christian McCaffrey, my three areas of need were cornerback, defensive tackle, and center. And maybe right tackle too, since McGlinchey's not under contract next year in 2023. So, yeah, I mean, as far as Eric Armstead goes, he's got the hairline fracture, but, at least for the hairline fracture, you have a definite timetable. It's like 4 to 6 weeks. And I think he's 4 or 5 weeks into it. So that I think will be fine. It's the plantar fasciitis that scares me more, because it's just one of these things where you never know when it's going to be better or not. So, that worries me more. And then Kinlaw in Mexico City, not a chance. It's altitude. He has issues with swelling in his knee. I mean, I think they just leave him at home, and maybe he can play versus the Saints when we get back.
maybe.
In that'll be week 12
Yeah,
with the Saints.
yeah, I agree with
So
that. Yeah,
yeah,
the altitude in Mexico with his knee, like
it's
I
like
would.
9,000 feet, isn't it?
Yeah, it's super bad out there. It's
It's like
crazy.
way worse than Mile High. Mile
Yeah,
High is only 5,000. Or is it
like
7,000? I don't know. It's a lot.
it's got
It's
to
a
be
lot.
like close to 9, I think. I don't know. That's a lot. You're right. The altitude with the knee. I mean, I could probably his knee would probably explode out there with that altitude and his problems. That's the last thing we need. I agree. I doubt he plays against Arizona and Mexico. I mean, I'd be shocked with everything
Me
that
too.
having to go through. So I feel bad for the guy. He didn't. You don't wish injuries on anybody, and people hate the guy because of his injuries and the past and who they got rid of and all that stuff. So for his sake, I hope he gets healthy and he can play because fans don't like the guy. It's unfortunate for him. But moving forward, we do have some guys that people do like. Debo Samuel, to me, he's another key to victory. I think they have to really establish Debo. He kind of didn't, he didn't really have the first half we expected. I know he got paid a lot of money this offseason. He didn't get all the training he could have this offseason because of the situation. He talked about it. It's well documented now. That's a guy I think that really needs to kind of get more involved in the second half of this offense. I think the offense still runs through him. I know they have CMC and Brandon Ayuk's really taken off. Elijah Mitchell's coming back, but I think they really need to get Debo involved a lot more. To me, that they just have to get him rolling because he's a guy that I feel paces this offense. He's like the pace car of this offense, and I feel if they can't get him established, it's going to be hard for everybody else to kind of get moving. So I know the guy again, CMC. He's great. He's been on the team 2 weeks. Debo before this year was that guy that was pacing the offense. So I hope he kind of gets back to where he was from last year because this guy put the team on his back, and if he can be that guy plus CMC doing what he does, I think this offense is unstoppable. And then you got Kittle and Ayuk and everybody else. So to me, he's another big time key to the 49ers victory, not just on Sunday, but moving forward for the rest of the season. What about you? Do you have any other big keys to victory for Sunday and maybe moving forward?
Yeah, Debo needs to get sort of back into shape. His holding in definitely affected him. He's a little bit overweight, not quite himself. Some of that was lack of conditioning. Some of that was, defenses really game planning for him and saying basically we're going to make anybody but Debo beat us. And now, hopefully he's getting into shape and defenses won't be able to do that with CMC. So yeah, those are big keys. Yeah, I mean, I think just overall consistency in the offense is a big key moving forward. In the second half of the season, we had a lot of inconsistency in the first half. Some of that was Kittle being out the first couple games. Then Kittle's back for one half of the Broncos, and early in the second half, Trent Williams goes down. So that was a big one. And then obviously, Jimmy G needs to be consistent.
Yeah.
That second half of the Rams, if he can play like that, we're going to do great things. I just don't know if he can be that consistent, moving forward. I think he's still going to make mistakes, and we'll need to rely on the defense playing a little bit better than it has been recently to make up for that. And the weapons. I mean, these weapons are so good. I've been saying the best group of offensive weapons in the NFL.
Yeah.
Maybe not the best at any single position, but I can't think of another team that is as blessed as we are with Debo, CMC, Kittle, Ayuk, Juszczyk, Elijah Mitchell, and then Jennings and Ray kind of as a split wide receiver 3.
Yeah, it's scary, man. Again, if they can be healthy and be the offense that we know they can to their potential, it's definitely scary. But I like what you said. Jimmy Garoppolo and the whole team, they all have to be consistent, limit mistakes, because there's games like the games the Niners lost this, first half of the season, they absolutely shot themselves in the foot so many times. So yeah, clean up those mistakes, make the second half adjustments, and I feel a lot of has to do with Jimmy and Kyle. Can they be on the same page? I feel like their trust has gotten a lot better this season as it's gone on. I feel like Jimmy's gotten better. I like the addition of Greasy as the quarterback coach. I feel like he's helped Jimmy. But yeah, we got to see a consistent Jimmy because you're right. He's going to make mistakes. That's just who he is. He's Jimmy Garoppolo. We know what he is. We know his skill set. Can he limit those mistakes? That is going to be the key to this second half. Is Can Jimmy go out there and play mistake-free football and, put this team in good positions to win? Because they have all this offense, and like he said in his press conference yesterday, it's my job to get the ball to the playmakers. He has to get it to CMC and Debo and not take silly sacks, not force the ball into triple coverage. So if the play's not there, throw it away. I think those are the things that we want to see. And again, the defense definitely has to continue to play at a high level. There was a few games, they kind of fell apart, but I think those injuries took a toll on them, especially that Chiefs game. That was rough, man. They played with Bosa on an injured groin and Charvarius Ward on an injured groin. That was a very, very ugly defensive performance. So they have to be healthy and stay consistent on both sides of the ball. So let's hope that they do, because if they don't, it's going to be an up and down roller coaster of a season. But I think this team's ready for a stretch run that will vault them into the playoffs. They have a pretty favorable schedule, just like last year. They went on a run, and I think this is a second half team. And again, they have a team on paper that looks just scary. Like you said, I don't think anybody in this league has a better offense than the Niners on paper. They might have better players, at a certain position, but overall, I mean, God, man, that's scary to think of this offense. So definitely think that they need to be able to stay consistent, and they can probably beat most of these teams on their schedule. So, moving into this rest of this half of the season, of course, there's going to be a couple X factors. Who are some players that stick out to you that maybe haven't broken out yet, or we're kind of on the cusp of it? First half of the season, who's the X factors on offense and defense? Like, who are two guys, or maybe more than two guys, that you're looking for to really kind of take that leap and be the X factor of this team?
Well, for defense, I'll go with Jimmy Ward, since he was out for most of the season. You mentioned the guys that played poorly against the Chiefs. He was one of them. It was his first game back. Not technically. I mean, technically, he played a couple plays when he broke his hand. I think it was in Atlanta. But the Chiefs was his first extended play coming back in the entire season because of his grade 3 hamstring tear from August. So, yeah, I think Jimmy Ward will see a lot better play. Also, there was a report this week that he's playing without a cast now for the first time this season. So that's really exciting. And I had kind of already called out before Womack and Lenore. I think I see them as risers on the defense. You called out Drake Jackson. And the other guys are all pretty well established, I would say. Gibson's been playing well, but I think Jimmy Ward can be a better free safety for us. I think he just brings a little more thump, and he's definitely a better man cover safety, and one of the best man cover safeties. On offense, that's interesting. I mean, I would love to see Danny Gray get a little more run. I mean, there was so much excitement about him. I was calling him Danny Deuces, but I've had to ease back off of that because he's still. Does he even have a catch yet? I don't think he does. He has those two misses. He had those two deep routes that he didn't quite, do Jimmy any favors on those. Yeah. And then I guess Ty Davis Price, TDP would be another one that I would say. Now that Jeff Wilson Jr. is a Miami Dolphin, he'll be our running back 3, and I think he'll get more reps, and it'll be interesting to see how he does. I mean, I've heard some people say that he's better. He's not better yet than Jeff Wilson, in my opinion. He could be. I think he has the potential to be better, and getting reps will help us find out. Yes, other than that, I mean, we've seen, I guess Burford also at right guard. He's shown a lot of potential. I just don't totally understand why they're platooning him with Brunskill, unless they're thinking of maybe bringing Brunskill in to replace Brendel at center at some point, because they had that competition in the offseason. Otherwise, it just seems like offensive line's all about continuity. If you got a young guy who's good, let him play and get better, right? But maybe it's working well, and he's getting enough experience platooning, and yet we're not exposing him to getting cooked. I don't know, but it doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not kind of really understanding the platoon. Maybe they feel that there's certain plays or certain, formations where Brunskill is better suited, and Spencer's still learning. I don't know, because I've seen nothing but really good talent on film from Spencer. But again, it's coaches know what they're doing, obviously. So I know the rotation's kind of dwindled a little bit. So I feel like Spencer has maybe proven himself a little bit more to the coaches. I've seen him pretty much take the majority overall, but they still have Brunskill in there. I wouldn't mind seeing Brunskill at right tackle if it comes down to it. If McGlinchey continues to struggle. To me, X factor is Mike McGlinchey. He's gonna have to step up and be a good pass protector. We know he's a great run blocker. I'm not gonna sit here and say he's not. I'll give him his flowers on that. But run blocking, I'm not worried about. I'm worried about pass protection because we talk about Jimmy, and we know he's got the quick release. But there's gonna be times where the teams are coming right down his neck on that right side. They're gonna load that boxes. They know Trent Williams is good. They know Aaron Banks has been good. To me, Michael Glinchey's got to hold his blocks and be a solid pass protector the second half of the season. To me, that is a X factor for the season going ahead. That's it. Michael Glinchey has to be really good. No penalties because he's had some really just bad penalties that you're just like, oh, come on, man. First round pick, you got to be a little bit more consistent. And then on sticking on offense, I'm actually going to go with Juwan Jennings. I feel like he had a kind of a frustrating first half. I expected more. A lot of people did after a pretty good, year last year. He kind of broke out. He was that third down receiver, the first down guy, red zone kind of target. He was that chain mover, and I feel like he just hasn't hit that stride we wanted. He doesn't have any touchdowns. He had 5 touchdowns last year, and he was kind of that big, energy spark last year. He's a good blocker, but I expect a little bit more out of Juwan Jennings, and he is kind of in a contract year too. So I expect him to kind of be maybe more of a spark. Ray's kind of been inconsistent. Like you said, Danny Gray's still learning and developing. I don't know how much we're going to get out of him. So I think Juwan Jennings is going to have to really step up and take that role as a, chain moving wide receiver, that possession guy. We know Brandon Ayuk is tearing it up, and I expect him to take what he did in the first half, especially those last 3 games, and turn it up another notch. I think Brandon Ayuk is going to have a monster second half. I think he's going to be like top 10 receiver potentially moving forward. So I see Brandon Ayuk really shining and being the star for this team. But again, I want to see Juwan Jennings kind of be a little bit more aggressive because I feel he was a lot more aggressive last year. Defense, this is a tough one. I agree with you in the sense where Jimmy Ward has to kind of be Jimmy Ward, play him at safety, but he really hasn't played this year. So we definitely want to see more out of Jimmy Ward, especially man coverage. Like you said, he's phenomenal in man coverage. But I want to see more out of Hufanga. I liked what he did in that first half of the season, those first few games, but then he kind of fizzled off a little. I know he was missing tackles. He has that potential. I want to see Hufanga come back to that, first couple games of the season. He was more of like an all-pro type safety. I thought he was like, whoa, oh my God, we're watching an all-pro. But he kind of fizzled a little. The concussions, I think, took a big toll on him. I want to see Hufanga kind of go back to those first few games. Show those instincts, go out there and make big plays, get that pick 6. I want to see Hufanga be a guy. If he can continue to play where he was early, I think that's a major X factor for this team. And then whoever the heck steps in as cornerback too, I don't know who it's going to be, but Lenore, Womack, whoever it is, that is the ultimate X factor for this defense. Who's going to come in and really step up as cornerback? Because if you're going to have players getting cooked up on that side, they're not even going to challenge Jimmy Ward if he's in there. They're not going to challenge Mooney Ward. So whoever that second cornerback is has to rise to the occasion. I don't care if it's Andrew Thomas. I don't care if it's Josh Norman. Whoever has to. Well, maybe I care if it's Josh Norman. Dante Johnson, maybe. Maybe they call up Dante Johnson for the millionth time, and he can be that guy. But whoever it is has to come in and really step up because that's going to be a big X factor coming into the second half of the season. So those are kind of my thoughts, my second half, people that need to step up and then do a little bit more. And then I know we touched on him too, Drake Jackson. I feel like I do want to see a lot more out of Drake. Again, there's been some injuries on the D-line. I hope Armstead comes back, but regardless, I want to see Drake continue to get more reps. I think he's comfortable in that defense enough where I think he can do a lot more now. So.
Yeah, I like yours better than mine. McGlinchey is one. I always think of like positive X factors, and to me, he's like a negative one.
Well, the both.
Yeah, but he I think he will improve some because he's been battling that calf strain. I don't think he was 100% against the Rams due to that. But, I just don't think he'll ever be better than his peak, and that's always been a liability in pass protection. But hopefully, fingers crossed, maybe he can. And also, he's been coming back from that quad tear, so that could be an extra. So between the quad tear and the calf strain, there's two areas where he could, physically be a little bit better, no doubt. I love Hufanga. Forgot about him, but that concussion I think has had some lingering effects. Yeah. That's the only thing I can explain. And or just having all the linebackers and defensive tackles out can't keep them clean. It's key to keep your middle linebackers and your safeties unblocked, and that's what those big old defensive tackles are for, to eat those double teams, right? So.
Yeah, no, I mean it's not. I mean, definitely positive. We want to see some positive, but there was your team's 4-4, right? We're 4-4, so it wasn't all peaches and cream, right? So I was watching a lot of the games on the bye week and looking and studying. And I was like, man, there's so much bad that happened this season. Like, it's nice that we ended the last week going into the bye on a nice win, but people forget some of the issues this team had. Like, that Broncos game was abysmal. The Falcons game, I can't believe we lost, especially watching some of that Falcons game last night. I'm going, how did the Niners lose this game?
But, I saw so many tweets. It's always a mistake to get on the timeline when you're waiting to watch a recording, because it's like, I guess the Falcons lost.
Yeah, it was bad.
But we had a lot of injuries. Obviously, the Jeff Wilson fumble 6 was crucial. And Emmanuel Mosley had just gone down the game before in Carolina, and then Womack got cooked a few times, and on the boundary there. So. When you're missing a lot of guys, especially Bosa on the defense and Trent Williams on the offense, that can lead to trouble for sure.
Yeah, they're kind of important guys on this team. Those guys definitely have to be healthy, because you're right, there was a lot of injuries. And I hate to use injuries as an excuse, but you're right. When you don't have your best players on there, it's hard to play at your level that you expect, because you expect certain players to be there, certain formations, certain players to be lined up in, an X spot, Z spot here. So when they're not there, your team hits different. So to an extent, injuries are a big reason this team loses. But this team is injured at a very high rate every year. So I feel like I don't know, I never get used to it, because it's like every year it's like deja vu. But I think first half was a good enough, but it wasn't what we expected. We should have at least been 6-2. But moving forward, limit those injuries, stay consistent. I think they can move it and have a good second half. So. With that being said, we got the Chargers on Sunday night. Again, Sunday night football, the Niners are pretty much getting a little bit healthier as compared to the Chargers. So what is your actual prediction of the game? You got a score for me? You got some touchdown predictions? Or let's talk about that. What are your big-time predictions on that game moving forward?
Well, I see a lot of running for both teams. Like I was saying, I think they have a weak run defense. They lost Austin Johnson. That's going to make it even weaker. It is interesting. I was, kind of doing some banter with some Charger fans to kind of get those receipts ready for after the game. And one of them was saying that basically losing their defensive tackle who they waived, Jerry Tillery, he thought that was going to be, addition by subtraction, that they'd be better in run defense because he wouldn't be out there stinking it up. We'll see. I mean, so he's basically saying he thinks a replacement level defensive tackle, probably off the street or not too far from it, is going to play better. And maybe that's true. I don't know. We'll see. But I think we'll still be able to run it a lot. With Mitchell, with CMC, Debo will still get carries. And they're susceptible, but I think we are too. I think we didn't see it versus the Rams because their offensive line is in shambles. They don't really have a good running back. Austin Eckler is a stud, and that interior offensive line is pretty good. I think we'll win. I think I usually don't make a formal score prediction until right before. An hour before kickoff, once the inactive lists are released. But I think we got a pretty good idea of who's playing and who's not as of now. And I'm thinking like an 8 to 10 point win for the 49ers. And I think probably a fair amount of scoring. I think we'll probably score maybe 28 to 20.
Ooh,
Niners.
I like it. 28-20. Yeah, I mean, the Niners are a 7-point favorite. coming off the bye week. Like we said, they're healthy. Um, but you can't count out the Chargers. They're a good team. I think this is a good barometer for the Niners. Although I know the Chargers are banged up, they're not at full strength. They're still a pretty good team. They've been inconsistent, but I feel like they're still a good enough team for us to really challenge our team and see where we're at this point in the season after the bye week, getting players back. Because we beat the Rams, we beat them twice. The Niners know how to play the Rams. Like, it's a game that we kind of expect to win. So, was that Rams game a fluke, or was it just was it a fluke because we know the Rams so much, we know how to game plan for them? We're gonna find out a lot about this team coming on Sunday night, prime time game. But I don't think the Niners are gonna let the fans down. I think they're gonna come out. They're gonna run the ball. I think they seem excited. I think they're gonna rally around the fact that they're playing for for Jason Verrett. Jason Verrett went down. Like I said, the DBs, they're going to wear the Jason Verrett shirts before the game. I think this team is going to come together. They know how to make a run in the second half. They've done it year after year, for the most part. They know how to kind of battle through adversity. I think the Niners win this game. I think that they'll pull away in the second half just because they have more firepower. The Chargers, not having Mike Williams and Keenan Allen, is going to catch up with them at some point in this game. And I think the Niners do enough running the ball to help win this game. And I feel like there's going to be a defensive turnover that bounces the Niners' way. Maybe a pick by Hufanga or somebody, Mooney Ward. Don't throw it to him. He might get a pick. So I feel like there's going to be a nice little turnover that the Niners get that really sparks them. They don't look back. The Niner fans are going to be cheering. I'll be cheering my crazy head off. And I think the Niners win 30-23. That's my prediction.
Love it. Yeah, I mean, I think I can go two ways with the Verrett thing, right? I think we're both kind of right that we're a 7-point, and just like Vegas thinks, or the smart money, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
But I honestly, I think it'll either be closer because we're glum about Verrett, or we're just going to blow their doors off because we're 1-1 for the Gipper in his honor. So, yeah, I mean, I hate to cloud the water like that, but I think that could be a double-edged sword the way the Verrett impact goes.
Yeah, that's true. They could be glum and like down in the dumps. They could be depressed, and that might bode really bad for the team. Let's hope they get over. It's tough. It is definitely tough to have one of the soldiers go down. But again, I know this team's been through so much. They've seen Nick Bosa, Jimmy Garoppolo. They've seen Debo go down. Like, every player has basically gotten hurt, and I feel like they'll be able to pull themselves together. But you never know. This might linger into the weekend, and they might end this game on a loss and then jumpstart their team. But I think this could be a statement game, like Christy says, where they can really come out, get a big win, and then after that, they got a lot of home games. They got a lot of games where they don't have to travel much. I think they can really go on a big run. But it all starts this Sunday. If they lay an egg, there's going to be a lot of scrutiny, and a lot of people are going to be going off on the timeline. You know how it is after a loss.
Fire Kyle.
It's going to be ugly, man. I just want to win because the timeline is a much happier place after the Niners win, man. Oh, God, when they lose, it's anarchy. It's definitely anarchy in the Bay. It's bad. Oh, God. Oh, yeah.
I think we'll win. I'm pretty confident.
I think so too. So, but yeah, I don't know. Any other thoughts or final statements on this game? I feel like we hit pretty much everything we wanted to kind of cover. But any final thoughts there about this game?
No, just thanks for having me on. It's a real pleasure. 2 shows in 2 weeks, 2 Fridays in a row. I'm super excited, and if there's anything I can ever do to help. Return the favor. Don't be shy about asking. I'm big on repaying my debts. So
yeah, no doubt, man. It's always a pleasure to have people. I like to have people coming on, especially on the Friday shows. Get everybody's everybody has different perspectives. So if you ever want to come on, just ask. And same thing. If you ever need a guest, just let me know, and we'll figure something out. But yeah, keep working, man. I see you grinding, man. You're putting in all the episodes, and it's cool to see. It's cool to see when someone's just growing and just starting, and they're out there putting in that work. So it's always like. So I'm always happy to help people out. So, but yeah, it's fun, man. Good show. I'm glad for all the faithful. You guys follow my man Ted. Tell him again where to find you, so they can
at TedH6 on Twitter and TED Talks Ball on YouTube. And then you can find me on Instagram too. It's Ted_Talks_Ball on Instagram.
Boom. Follow him out. Be faithful. Make sure you subscribe to my page. Make sure you subscribe to his page. Make sure you like the show today. If you did, if you didn't, oh well, you watched it. So I love you anyways. I'll probably see you later on Instagram. But yeah, I hope you guys have a good rest of your day. Enjoy the Saturday, and let's get ready for the weekend, man. The game is coming. I'm so excited for Sunday Night Football. I'm gonna be there. I'm gonna lose my mind. So if you guys are there at the game and you see me, don't be shy. Say what's up. We'll take a picture. We'll post it on Instagram. Whatever we got to do. So, yeah, I'm excited. Let's go Niners, and let's hope they win. Because again, if the Niners lose, timeline is gonna be a mess.
Thanks, Raj. Go
Yeah.
Niners.
Go Niners. Take care, Ted. Have a good one.
You too, bud. Bye bye.
Bye bye.